Economic woes clamp down on protests threaten stability. By Sizon Kala. Nigeria is a country beset by multiple crises ranging from insecurity and political instability to electricity and fuel shortages. The country is currently going through the latest round of acute fuel shortages which have pushed the price of the precious commodity beyond the reach of many who are struggling just to survive. Fuel shortages have crippled the Nigerian economy since July. At the beginning of this month, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC), which is responsible for importing and distributing petroleum, announced a petrol price hike from 617 naira to 897 naira per litre. There was a corresponding increase in the prices of private retailers of up to 1,200 naira following the move by the NNPC. The NNPC attributed the fuel shortage to the debt it owes petroleum suppliers, which is reportedly around the region of $6.8 billion. Despite being one of the Africa's largest producers of crude oil, Nigeria imports almost all of its refined fuel needs. The company's debt struggles could be due to President Bola Tinubu's administration's decision to remove fuel subsidies, which had kept the fuel prices low for decades after sustained pressure from the International Monetary Fund (IMF). The government had no fiscal room to maintain the subsidies due to declining oil production, whose export revenues were used to finance the subsidies. Moreover, the government's decision to liberalize the exchange rates and float the naira has also contributed to the fuel crisis. Following this policy move, the naira has lost about 245% of its value, which have made imports prohibitively expensive. Nigerian businesses and households, the majority of which run on petrol and diesel generators because of the erratic supply of electricity, are already bearing the brunt of the fuel shortage, which is fast precipitating a socio-economic crisis. Businesses are facing higher operational costs and reducing demand from consumers who are not faring any better in the tough economy. This will predictably lead to many businesses cutting jobs to remain afloat while exacerbating the unemployment crisis. The Nigerian economy only grew by 2.3% in 2023, which is not enough to absorb the millions of the unemployed people. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, inflation increased to over 33% in March, the highest rate in almost 3 decades, as a result of fuel scarcity. Largely due to the cost of transport, food inflation rate was even higher at the above 40%, leaving millions of Nigerians facing hunger and food insecurity. According to the Global Report on Food Crisis produced by the World Health Organization, Nigeria is one of the worst affected countries in terms of acute food insecurity. The public frustrations from economic woes jeopardizes Nigeria's political stability. For the past few weeks, the country has witnessed widespread protests under the hashtag "End Bad Governance in Nigeria" as ordinary people put pressure on the government to address the dire economic situation. Some of the demands of the protesters include insecurity and hunger, release of people arrested for protesting, electoral reforms, recovery of stolen funds, and the implementation of a living wage, among others. The Nigeria government responded to the protests with an iron fist. Over 100 protesters were arrested and some were charged with treason as the security forces cracked down on the protests. The government resorted to the usual playbook of African governments, which often characterized protests over genuine and legitimate grievances as being sponsored by malicious and criminal elements seeking to destabilize the country and bringing down the sitting government. In Kenya, President William Ruto also dismissed the protests that rocked the country over economic hardships in June as the work of criminal elements bent on causing instability. It is indeed an unfortunate situation that citizens are denied the democratic space and constitutional rights to air their grievances against underperforming, incompetent, and corrupt governments. Governments that are unresponsive and indifferent to the suffering of their citizens are the biggest contributors to political instability in Africa. Coup perpetrators take advantage of such crises, and the one Nigeria is currently facing, to initiate unconstitutional changes of government under the self-serving pretexts of saving the country. Their case is made easier by governments whose legitimacy is questioned over the failure to deliver the most basic of public goods. Hence, if the Nigerian government denies its citizens the democratic right to protest, what moral rights does it have to ask the military juntas in Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Guinea, among others, to restore democratic order? Dr. Senzo Nkala is Research Fellow at the University of Johannesburg Center for Africa-China Studies. The views expressed in this video do not necessarily reflect the views of IOL or independent media. In the meantime, true travelers died at South Africa's major airports, ACSA confirms. The airports company South Africa, ACSA, confirmed that 2 travelers passed away at Oliver Tambo International Airport, ORTIA, in Gauteng, and King Shaka International Airport, KSIA, in KwaZulu-Natal, respectively, on Saturday. The Oliver Tambo International Airport officials were notified at 3:10 p.m. that an individual had fallen from parking level 5 to the ground level. Law enforcement and airport health officials responded immediately, and paramedics later declared the unidentified traveler dead at the scene. The airport's company also confirmed that an unidentified male passenger passed away at King Shaka International Airport. The passenger reportedly collapsed at the airport's terminal's democratic arrival area. AXA said emergency services were immediately called and attended to him, but he was declared dead on the scene. The airport's company said the cause of death in both incidents was still unknown. However, they can confirm that the matter has been handed over to the South African Police Service and that an inquest docket has been opened for further investigations. AXA extends deepest condolences to the families and loved ones of both travelers during this difficult time, said AXA spokesperson Ernest Mulibana. Meanwhile, National Commissioner of SAPS General Fani Masemola has reiterated that South Africa is not a haven for criminals, emphasizing that anyone breaking the law will be tracked down and held accountable. He also condemned the multidisciplinary team at Oliver Tambo International Airport for their ongoing vigilance, which has consistently produced positive results. In the past 2 months, more than 13 million rands worth of drugs, including 12 million worth of cocaine, has been seized at the airport. About 9 drug traffickers, drug mules, have been arrested during this same period. All suspects were arrested in the possession of these drugs. In the latest success, Oliver Tambo police led the arrest of a Nigerian drug mule on Friday evening. SAPS National Spokesperson Brigadier Atenda said police were working closely with Airport Security, Border Management Authority (BMA), customs officials and AXA staff when the arrests were effected. This drug mule has just landed from Sao Paulo and was connecting to Nigeria when he met with a cleaner at the airport and handed him with airline headphones. Suspecting that there was something amiss, the team opened the aircraft headphones and found cocaine stashed in the headphones, said Mate. She said the drug mule, who claims he is a street vendor from Nigeria, told authorities that he was in Brazil to buy clothes and shoes which he sells in his home country. Mate said police investigating the suspect to prove that this may be used as a decoy by this drug trafficker. Mate also reported that the cleaner aware of the police pursuit, managed to evade arrest, prompting a manhunt. General Masemola said the men and women in blue remain dedicated to putting a stop to the illicit drug trafficking trade. He said these arrests and drug confiscations should serve as a deterrent to other drug traffickers, that they will be caught. And that's it from INJIBS Africa. Stay tuned to USA political updates.